Night descends upon the monastery. Lanterns sway in the wind like slow-beating hearts. Inside a small stone cell, a monk sits cross-legged, motionless, yet far from still. He came here seeking peace, believing enlightenment was a sky without clouds. But tonight, something stirs beneath his breath, a warmth that refuses to die. Not devotion, not even life as he once knew it. It is an ancient pulse, rising from the lower belly, whispering through every vein, "I am here, I am alive." He straightens his spine, recites the sutras, presses his palms together as if to hold the world still. But the body does not obey. It breathes its own rhythm, remembering the ocean, the first cry of existence. The monk lowers his head. Guilt floods in, the silent shame of wanting while wearing the robe. He fears he has failed, that purity has abandoned him. But in the quiet beyond fear, another voice arises. Not from thought, but from the fire itself. I am not your enemy. I am life longing to meet itself. He trembles. Years of suppression melt in a single breath. He begins to see the truth that hides beneath every addiction. It is not the act we chase, but the feeling of being whole that flashes for a moment before guilt returns. The addict does not crave pleasure. The addict craves presence. And in the absence of presence, the body searches for substitutes. A touch, a fantasy, a ritual. Anything to feel alive again. The monk places a hand over his heart. He lets the warmth rise. He does not fight it this time. He simply breathes. Each inhale fans the flame. Each exhale softens it into light. In that delicate rhythm, he feels something he has never known before. Not suppression, not indulgence, but understanding. The fire begins to change color, from red to gold. He realizes that addiction was never born from sin. It began the moment we turned away from the raw pulse of life, forgetting how to stay with it. When the soul starves for intimacy with itself, it searches for nourishment in forbidden places. But peace was never outside. It was hidden in the breath that dares to stay. The monk opens his eyes. The rain has stopped. The temple exhales. Lantern light steadies like a silent vow. He is neither saint nor sinner, just a being learning to breathe with the universe. He thought he had come to end desire, the narration whispers. But what he found instead was the beginning of life. And in that stillness he understands. To heal addiction is not to kill the fire, but to sit within it, to breathe until the flame reveals its true name, awareness. Outside, dawn is near. The world is quiet. And somewhere deep within, the first light of freedom flickers awake. He believed purity meant silence, to erase every ripple that disturbed the surface of stillness. Yet the more he resisted the flame, the brighter it burned. He prayed, he fasted, he chanted through sleepless nights, but the fire only moved deeper, curling into the corners of his being like a serpent of light. He began to fear the body, to see it as a prison of sin. But the more he denied it, the more it demanded to be known. For the body is innocent. It only speaks in sensations. It was never the enemy, only the language of life itself. Still, shame grew heavy like wet robes after rain, and he wondered if peace was just another name for denial. One night while meditating, a vision came. Soft, radiant, and unbearably human. A woman formed from light and longing. Her eyes were calm, yet burning. He wanted to turn away, but something in her gaze held both grace and grief. It was not lust that broke him, it was recognition. He saw in her the reflection of all he had exiled. His own tenderness, his need to be held, his hunger for union with the sacred through touch. In that moment, his vow trembled. He wept, not because he had sinned, but because he finally saw the beauty inside the fire. For desire was never the opposite of purity. It was purity's shadow, calling him back into wholeness. He walked out into the night beneath the field of stars. No prayers this time, no begging for forgiveness. He simply whispered to the darkness, "I can't fight this anymore." And the stars did not judge. They shimmered, as if nodding in silence. For the first time, he felt the earth beneath his knees, the wind on his face, and the same current of life that moves through all beings. The fire in him softened, no longer craving release. It had found breath. In surrender, he discovered something holier than control: understanding. The battle between purity and desire was never meant to be won, only witnessed until both sides dissolve into stillness. At dawn, he sat once more in his cell, no longer seeking silence, just listening. The fire still moved within him, but now it had a rhythm, like ocean waves returning to the shore. He saw that what he had called temptation was the same force that brings flowers to bloom, stars to ignite, and hearts to seek God. He bowed his head, not in shame, but in reverence. The flame does not burn the one who sees it clearly, he thought. It only burns the veil. Outside, the first light entered the monastery, and the monk smiled. A quiet smile that held both heat and peace, fire and light. The monk begins to see what he could not see before. The fire that once terrified him is not demanding satisfaction. It is asking for awareness. Every time he resists, the flame grows violent. But when he looks directly into it, without judgment, without naming it holy or sinful, something miraculous happens. The fire trembles, softens, as if relieved to finally be seen. He realizes it was never pleasure that enslaved him. It was unconsciousness. When light touches the dark, darkness has nowhere left to hide. And in that moment of seeing, the addict disappears. Only awareness remains, breathing through the body like wind through bamboo, still, strong, and infinitely alive. He closes his eyes and follows the breath. Each inhale enters the flame. Each exhale carries it upward. The heat rises, from the belly to the heart to the crown. But instead of consuming him, it begins to illuminate. The same current that once dragged him into craving now opens his chest with light. He senses a rhythm beyond desire, a dance between stillness and movement. Every sensation, every spark is the universe expressing itself through him. He is not the fire, and yet he is nothing but the fire. Pure awareness, breathing within the field of existence. The body is no longer an obstacle. It becomes a temple of transformation. A stillness begins to grow. Not the frozen stillness of repression, but the living stillness of understanding. He realizes that to fight desire was to fight the divine itself. He laughs softly, as if the mountains could hear him. There is no longer the monk and the craving. There is only breath, moving through both like a single prayer. What he feared as chaos was only the intensity of life seeking expression. Now that he has stopped naming it, it moves freely, a sacred river returning to the ocean. In surrender, he feels whole for the first time. He has not transcended the body. He has entered it completely. When dawn returns, the fire has changed. It no longer burns, it shines. The monk feels warmth in every cell, but it is gentle now, like sunlight through silk. He bows deeply to the ground. What he once called sin, he now calls teacher. What he once tried to destroy has become his path to awakening. Desire was never against purity, he whispers. It was the seed of it. The line between heaven and earth dissolves. He breathes, only breath. No guilt, no grasping, only a vast, luminous stillness that feels like coming home. He sits once more beneath the old Bodhi tree. The dawn wind brushes his skin like water. He closes his eyes and listens. Not to the chants, not to the mind, but to the breath itself. Each inhale touches the flame at his core. Each exhale softens it into space. He realizes that control was never peace. Peace is the breath that stays when control ends. The fire begins to rise, slowly, like incense smoke curling toward the sky. No longer trapped below, it ascends through the spine, warming the heart, illuminating the mind. In stillness, movement continues. In movement, stillness breathes. And he smiles. For the first time, he is not meditating to escape life, but to breathe it completely. Every craving has a pulse, and every pulse can be purified through awareness. He begins to breathe more deeply, not to suppress desire, but to give it air, to let it unfold in the light of consciousness. With each breath, the body becomes transparent. The energy that once pulled downward now moves upward, flowing like golden current through the spine. He can feel the two rivers within him, the river of instinct and the river of spirit, merging into one. This is the true alchemy, the transformation of raw fire into luminous presence. In silence, he hears it, the soundless mantra within the breath itself. So, hum, I am that. Hours pass like moments. The monk is motionless, yet alive with the rhythm of the universe. Every breath expands his chest, and the warmth fills the space between thought and form. The fire no longer consumes. It creates. It paints visions of light behind closed eyes. A lotus opening in slow motion, a sun rising within the heart. He understands now that desire was never a mistake. It was energy unclaimed, a forgotten invitation to create, to love, to awaken. His breath deepens again. There is no tension left, only the subtle hum of being. The boundaries of body and air blur. He is breathing and being breathed by the same source. The monk opens his eyes. The fire and the breath are one. The body, once feared, now feels sacred, a vessel of divine intelligence. He looks at his hands, at the trembling simplicity of life moving through them. Every cell glows with quiet gratitude. He bows to the body, to the temple he had once tried to escape. The body was never against the soul, he whispers. It was its first doorway. The morning sun pours through the trees. Golden dust dances in the air. The monk breathes again, and the whole forest seems to breathe with him. The fire has not gone out. It has become light. The monk sits beneath the Bodhi tree, where sunlight filters like golden dust through leaves. He has stopped fighting the flame. It is no longer his enemy. It is his teacher. He feels it pulsing at the base of his spine, a living current of raw creation. When he breathes in, the flame rises. When he breathes out, it softens. He realizes that the body is not impure. It is the vessel through which life learns to pray. The heat inside is not lust. It is energy that has forgotten its sacred purpose. And now, through the breath, he will remind it of home. He lets a single sound form at the back of his throat, soft, slow, infinite. Namo Amitabha Buddha Ya. The vibration moves downward first, anchoring in the lower belly, grounding the restless current of desire. Then, on the next breath, it rises, flowing upward like a stream of gold through his heart. With each repetition, the heat changes quality. What was once sharp becomes tender. What was wild becomes luminous. He understands. This sacred sound carries the frequency of pure light. Each syllable acts as a tuning fork, aligning the dense vibration of craving with the finer vibration of compassion. It does not destroy desire. It refines it. Within this resonance, the urge to possess transforms into the joy of presence. The mantra continues, no longer recited. It breathes itself. Namo Amitabha Buddha Ya. Each syllable opens a subtle gate in the body. The belly releases tension, the heart expands, the crown glows faintly with light. The monk senses how the sound travels through his three fires, the fire of instinct, the fire of emotion, the fire of mind. It harmonizes them into one radiant flame, the flame of awareness. This is the alchemy of devotion. Sound becomes vibration, vibration becomes light, light becomes consciousness. The mantra does not belong to any tongue. It is the universal hum of remembrance. He perceives now how energy obeys attention. When attention is tainted by fear, the fire burns. When attention is open, loving, still, the same fire illuminates. He whispers again, barely audible, Namo Amitabha Buddha Ya. The sound dissolves into breath, the breath into silence, the silence into awareness. Inside, the fire has become gentle light, a steady glow that warms without consuming. The monk feels every cell vibrating in quiet harmony with the infinite. There is no distinction now between body and soul, flame and space, sound and silence. He understands. This mantra is not a call to something outside. It is the body's way of remembering its origin in light. Each repetition polishes the mirror of being until nothing remains to be reflected, only radiance itself. He bows deeply. The name still echoes, but there is no speaker, no listener, only awareness singing itself back to stillness. The forest exhales. The air shimmers faintly. And in the heart of that silence, a truth resounds without sound. The fire has not been silenced. It has remembered it was light all along. The monk sits unmoving, yet the whole world moves through him. The breath has become the bridge between what burns and what is eternal. Inside, the fire no longer flickers or fights. It shines, clear, steady, soundless. He feels a golden current ascending through his spine, not as heat, but as radiance. It passes through the heart, softening every scar, then rises to the crown like dawn unfolding within. Each cell turns translucent, as if light has remembered where it belongs. The body, once heavy, now feels like breath itself. He can sense how energy, when fully seen, ceases to demand release. It becomes a river of pure intelligence, flowing upward toward awareness. He is not restraining anything. He is simply witnessing. And the act of witnessing turns the fire to light. A soft radiance fills the space around him. No flames, no smoke, just warmth that breathes. The air shimmers like liquid gold. He begins to understand what the ancient ones meant, that the body itself is a sun in disguise, its energy longing not to escape, but to awaken. Every pulse of blood becomes light. Every heartbeat expands the horizon of stillness. The mind, emptied of resistance, becomes a clear sky where illumination dawns naturally. He sees that this light is not born from effort. It arises when the self is quiet enough to let truth appear. The fire that once symbolized desire has turned inward, burning away the last shadow of separation. Only clarity remains, pure awareness glowing through form. He opens his eyes. The world gleams softly, each leaf shining with the same tenderness as his own breath. There is no outside anymore. The mountain, the river, the wind, all pulse with the same luminosity. The monk feels love flowing through him, not as emotion, but as the natural fragrance of light. It touches everything, stones, birds, forgotten corners of silence. Without preference, without grasping. He realizes that compassion is not something one practices. It is what happens when the fire becomes light. Desire has fulfilled its sacred duty, to lead him back to wholeness. Now, he no longer seeks to purify himself. He simply is, a beam of awareness resting in the heart of being. The sun rises higher, and the monk's outline softens into the brightness of morning. Not disappearance, transparency. He breathes once more, and the breath shines. The universe breathes with him, a single rhythm of endless return. No trace of struggle remains. No teacher, no student, no path. Only the soundless expansion of knowing itself. The fire was never to be conquered. It was meant to be seen, to be loved, until it revealed its true name. Light. The forest glows in silence. The air hums with invisible song. And somewhere in the distance, a bell rings, clear, empty, infinite. Fade to stillness. A single beam of gold dissolves into white. The valley has fallen silent. Mist curls above the river like the breath of the earth itself. Where the monk once sat, only light remains. Soft, translucent, tender as dawn. But within that light, awareness is awake. It sees without eyes, hears without sound. It recognizes itself in every reflection. The trembling of leaves, the heartbeat of a bird, the hush before the wind moves again. There is no seeker here, only the vast presence that was seeking through him. The stillness is not absence. It is the fullness of everything that ever was. The universe inhales once more, and the inhale never ends. Somewhere far below, a bell rings, not from the monastery, but from the heart of the earth. It calls the light back into form. The monk opens his eyes, though they are not the eyes of before. They are clear mirrors, reflecting the same stillness he once pursued. He rises, each step effortless, as if gravity itself has become gentle. Around him, villagers begin their day, children's laughter, water poured into clay, the scent of smoke and rice. He watches it all with quiet wonder. Nothing to renounce, nothing to resist. Every sound, every motion is the same sacred vibration that once burned in his chest. He whispers softly to the morning air, "I walk within the fire that became light." At twilight, he stands by the riverbank. The sun melts into the horizon, its reflection rippling like liquid gold. He breathes in. The whole sky enters. He breathes out, and the sky exhales through him. He feels no boundary between breath and cosmos, between water and flame. Awareness flows endlessly, weaving form and emptiness into one living tapestry. The world is not outside of him. It is the body of his own knowing. The path was never to escape, he realizes. It was to remember. The fire has found its true dwelling, not in heat, not in longing, but in the quiet pulse of existence itself. Night again. The stars unfold like countless eyes of light. A golden lotus floats on the river, its petals opening to the rhythm of the breathless wind. No figure is seen, but the presence remains. A warmth moving through space, a shimmer that belongs to no one. In that unseen radiance, one truth resounds beyond words. The journey was never from darkness to light, but from forgetfulness to remembrance. The universe breathes, and the breath is calm. The lotus glows brighter, its reflection unbroken on the water's surface. The fire has rested. The monk has vanished. Only stillness remains. Vast, luminous, awake. If this story touched something quiet within you, let that be your moment to pause, to breathe, to honor the light that lives inside your own fire. May this stillness follow you beyond the screen, into the breath, into the small miracles of your daily life. If you wish to walk further on this path of awareness and healing, please like, subscribe, and share your reflection in the comments below. Not for numbers, but for connection, for the light we remember together. May every flame find its peace. May every heart remember its light.